Okay. Hello, kiddos. It's been a while. We are going to make chicken rollatini tonight. So, first of all, ingredients, chicken boobs. Just a 2-pack of chicken boobs. I'm going to show you a little bit later how to cut this in half, and how to pound these down to make them super thin so you can roll them up.
You said pound.
I did say pound. Spinach. We're going to put this inside the rollatini, but also we're going to use it as sauteed spinach. Prosciutto ham. This is important because this is what goes inside of it. It's super, super thin cut ham. Really, really yummy. Parmesan cheese, as Mimi would say.
Parmesan.
Chicken stock. So chicken broth, chicken stock, it's the same thing. This is, we'll talk about like how much to use of this a little bit later. Toothpicks, because you need to stick them when you roll up the rollatini, and butter if you make the sauce. So a little bit later on, I'm going to tell you that you've got an option to make the sauce or just cook the chicken. So that is the ingredients, and we'll be back shortly for the actual preparation. Okay, all right, so this is the one part I want you to be super careful. All you're doing is going to cut this chicken in half so you can press it down and make it thin. So you just find a knife, whatever knife you have. You don't have to have this big giant thing. But when you start to cut it right in the half, then you just kind of put your hand on top to make sure that you don't accidentally cut your fingers. And it doesn't matter how good it is in terms of cutting. All you're trying to do is make it thinner. So when you actually use the pounder, I'm going to show you in a second, that it makes it very easy to make it very thin, which makes it very easy to roll it up.
What about the thin chicken things that are more expensive at the grocery, but that you can buy?
Yeah, and I usually trim off a little fat here. You can, if you're at Trader Joe's or something that actually might have thin cut chicken breasts, if they have thin cut chicken breasts, you can get those. You don't have to cut the chicken at all. This is the cheaper way to go, but you can absolutely do that. So if you hold on 1 second, I will show you, actually cut this, I gotta wash my hands, and then I'll come back and show you how to make the chicken very thin. All right, so I put some saran wrap down on the bottom. So Lexi, for you, the little kitchen table that you have, put this down beforehand. Jackson, wherever there's room for you to do it, put it down beforehand. So you cut the chicken, or if you have the thin chicken, you just place it down here. You put another roll of plastic wrap directly on top of it. And then I use this weird little
mallet
meat mallet hammer thing. You can also just honestly use the bottom of a pan. So if you have a small pan, all you're doing is trying to get this thin. And this is exactly what I do to cook any type of chicken cutlet. And Alex would know what I'm talking about that. For the thin chicken for Italian dishes, you do the cutlet. So I do the same thing for that, but you're basically wanting this thin enough so when you roll it up, you can stick a toothpick all the way through it. So again, if you have a mallet, if you go to Target, you can get a mallet.
But with the mallet, hold on, show. You use the flat side.
Use the flat side. This side is to tenderize meat, and you don't want to do that.
That's a meat tenderizer, and that would totally mess up your chicken. So
yay, what the camera ladies say. Okay, so that's easy sneezy. Great song just started. So we'll be back with how to actually make the rollatini. Action. Chicken is now pretty flat. A little bit of salt and pepper.
He took the top saran wrap off.
Yeah, I took the top saran wrap off. You don't need a lot of salt on this because honestly, between the prosciutto and the Parmesan and the chicken broth, you're going to be adding quite a bit of salt. Lexi, I know how much you love pepper, so I always put quite a bit of pepper in here that you don't know about. Okay, now we're actually going to make the rollatini. So this is the prosciutto. It's very, very thin. So if you remember, Lexi, we actually had this in Jackson in Spain. Italians and Spanish like this, they cut it very, very thin. So you basically just put a piece on each piece of chicken. I use the bigger pieces for the bigger pieces of chicken, smaller for the smaller pieces of chicken, and it usually works out pretty good like that. So that's easy. Next, spinach, and you're literally just putting spinach in it. I usually take off these little spinach tails. Camera lady sneezed and we had to stop. So, so you're basically just putting spinach in the middle. And you don't have to put a lot. I put 3 or 4 on each piece of chicken, depending upon how big it is. You can also do sage in the middle, which is like kind of the leaf herb. I really like that, but I think most people actually prefer the spin on.
It's too sagey.
It can never be too sagey.
Well,
What she says is false. Okay. Then the last little bit we put is Parmesan cheese. While I'm opening this, like just a reminder, like when you're dealing with chicken, raw chicken, like as soon as you touch the raw chicken, wash your hands. When you touch it again, wash your hands. You just don't want to get the contamination of the raw chicken on any of the other food. All right, so you're just sprinkling a little bit of Parmesan cheese in the middle. You don't want a lot because you don't want it to get too like melty and gooey. You're really just putting the Parmesan cheese in there as kind of part of the seasoning. All right, here's the fun part. Before you start to roll it up, take your toothpick box. It usually only takes 2 toothpicks per chicken, but I usually get out 3 per chicken just in case. In worst case scenario, you're wasting 4 toothpicks total. Because once you actually start to roll the chicken, you don't want to reach into the box to get the toothpick because then you've got a little box of raw chicken.
raw chicken has salmonella, or can have salmonella.
All right, here's the magic. Are you ready for magic? Take one of the ends. You roll it tightly with everything together. Toothpick number 1. You're just sticking it to where it comes out the other end. Toothpick number 2. And these will be the perfect size. You only need 2 toothpicks. So same thing for chicken boob number 2. This is a smaller one. They're kind of the same exact setup. Toothpick, and I'll show you a little bit later on like when to remove these toothpicks, but it makes it very easy to cook. For the second to last one here. And it's okay if the cheese or stuff starts to fall out on the plastic. That's quite all right. Okay. The reality is I don't know how to make this for less than 4 pieces. So either you're gonna have leftovers or invite friends over and cook for some other people.
And these leftovers are good. You can
Super
just
good.
take them out of the refrigerator and eat them like,
Eat them cold.
ugh, no, but
I do. I eat them cold.
they're good
Glorious.
leftover. They save well, I guess you
Yep.
could say.
Okay, so that is what you do. The only thing I'm going to do after I wash my hands is I'm just going to like quickly salt and pepper the tops and the bottoms, and then I'll be ready to start cooking. So we'll be back shortly with. Okay, all right. So you need 2 pots. One to do the spinach. It doesn't have to be this tall, but the spinach is really easy. And then some type of frying pan to do your chicken. The reason I use the taller one is that when it splatters, and it will because of the oil, it won't make a mess on the oven. So if you have something that you use like to make spaghetti sauce or something, you could use that. So I've heated these up. You're gonna put a little bit of olive oil. I don't measure it. I just put some in.
Isn't it like the seconds it holds is like a
Well, supposedly if you
tablespoon?
it's 3 seconds is a tablespoon.
Okay.
Theoretically. I do the same for the spinach.
1, 2, 3.
Something like that. All right, so for the spinach, I'm gonna cheat because it's what you would do. Garlic from the store, you can buy this pre-chopped.
Minced.
Minced.
It's called minced garlic.
Minced, just with really small chops.
It's how I cook. It's usually not how Lucas
So this
cooks.
is for the spinach. So we're gonna take basically like a half little spoonful of spinach. You put that with the oil as it's heating up. This is why spinach is, so easy to cook. And then you take the spinach and you go ahead and throw it in. So I'm gonna cook most of this and leave a little bit for your mom to put in her weird salad stuff. So you can fill the pot about halfway up
It shrinks.
because it shrinks
Significantly.
quite a bit. Yeah. And this is actually, again, a good leftover. So you're gonna let that like heat up for just a few minutes. You will need some tongs. If you don't have tongs, go to Target and get yourself some kitchen tongs. So basically you're just stirring this around to get make sure every piece has a little bit of oil on it and a little bit of the garlic that you put in there. And then you're just gonna leave it alone for like 5 or 6 minutes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes until you start to hear it to cook a little bit. And then we'll actually salt and pepper it, put the top on it and turn it off and you're done. So that's super easy. Okay, for the chicken, you see that we have the Rollitini here, just a little pointer. You're gonna need 1 set of tongs to do the chicken. As soon as you put it in, then turn it over. You want to get rid of these because these touch the gross raw chicken. Then you can just use the same tongs after that for when you want to take them out to take the toothpicks out. So I'll show you that here in a moment. So this is been heating up now for about 3 or 4 minutes. So you can kind of hear it. If you're you can kind of hear it a little bit. So you're gonna put the chicken in and you hear that sizzle. It's important that you have the pot pretty darn hot. So I have it on medium high. Because if the pot isn't hot enough, the chicken's gonna stick. So you have to wait for the chicken to cook long enough to where you start to touch it, that it moves around a little bit and it's not just stuck in the pan. Okay, so this is gonna cook for about 5 minutes on this side. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes to show you how to flip it over and check on the spinach. We back, camera lady? All right, she says yes. All right, so show the camera in there. These move around now. So basically we're gonna turn it over. And you see a little bit of brown from that side of the chicken. Same thing there, same thing there. So we're gonna do the same exact thing. We're gonna let it sit here for 5 minutes. And then we are going to pour chicken broth in the pot and let it finish cooking there. So we'll come back and show you that in a second. We're about to finish the spinach. So we've literally just been letting this sit in kind of medium heat. We are going to, you can see where it's basically cooked down. It cooks itself. And it will continue cooking when you turn the heat off. So we're just gonna add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and then we'll stir it around. And you can see a few leaves are still kind of the big size. They haven't wilted yet. That's quite all right. Then you're literally gonna turn the heat off and put a lid on it, and that's done. So the chicken is done. So we will be back in just a few minutes. And by the way, now that you've turned over the raw chicken twice, these little things that you used on the raw chicken go in the sink. They're done. They're dead to me. Okay, so we will be back in just a couple minutes to show you how to finish the chicken. All right, so I didn't show you this earlier. You will need a lemon, either one big lemon or 2 small lemons. So I'm going to show you the fast way to just cut it in half.
I don't think that's a great way to cut a lemon.
Well, it's a really sharp knife. So
A sharp knife on an unstable surface.
hey, very good.
Don't do that,
Hey,
kids.
camera lady, stay in your lane. All right, so we're basically gonna just squeeze the lemon juice into a little dish, and we will use a spoon to grab the seeds out afterwards because you don't want the seeds in there. This is just part of the sauce. So again, if you do not want to do the sauce, you can still use the lemon juice to cook the chicken and just not have to worry about the sauce. I'll tell you how to make the sauce in just a minute. So you have your lemon juice ready to go, and I'll just take the seeds out before I pour it in there. Now, the chicken is cooked basically 5 minutes on each side. This is where I don't measure. This is the chicken broth. All I'm gonna do is pour whatever pot size you have. You're gonna pour enough chicken broth to where it gets up about halfway up the chicken. Because you're literally gonna finish cooking the chicken with the top on, so you're gonna hear it kind of sizzle a little bit as you turn the... So really that's it, if you can show in there. It's about halfway up the chicken. I'm gonna take out our seeds out of our lemon stuff, if I can actually get them out.
On your stable cutting surface?
On my unstable cutting surface. I have to fire this camera over again. Okay, good enough. All right, pour the lemon juice in there. You're gonna basically turn up the heat just a little bit. We're gonna put the top on.
Turn it up to what? Where are you now? You're not quite on high.
I'm not on high, so I turn it up just to where it starts to boil just a little bit. And it happens pretty quickly. So depending on your oven and how quickly your pot gets hot, it'll happen very quickly. This is not an important part, so you don't have to worry about turning the heat up. It's just gonna make sure this boils a little bit. And then you're gonna put the top on and turn that heat back down to medium high. and you're gonna let it cook. You're not gonna do anything. You let it sit there for about 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how big the chicken is. So these chickens weren't huge and they were already pretty cooked. So I'm gonna go about 5 minutes and then we'll be back and I'll show you how to take them out, take the toothpicks out. And then if you wanna make the sauce, I'll show you how to make the sauce. And camera would just took my picture as we started back. Okay.
So handsome.
So the chicken has gone for about 8 minutes, which I think is plenty. If you look in here, you can tell, it looks like it's cooked all the way around. So we're going to take the chicken out, put it on a plate, or I'm using the top of the cooking container. And we're going to let those cool for just a couple minutes and then take the toothpicks out, and I'll show you how to do that. So if you, camera lady, get over here. If you look, that's a lot of broth. So we are going to turn this to high to boil this down. So if you want to make this sauce, this takes about 10 minutes. And all you do is you boil it all the way down to where there's almost nothing left. And then you put a little bit of butter in it. So I'm going to show you what it is now. And then we'll come back in 10 minutes or so and show you how to take the toothpicks out and show you where the sauce is. And then you'll heat the chicken back up just a little bit, put the butter in, and the sauce will be done. Okay, all right, so first thing we're gonna do, a quick view of that. That's almost boiled down to exactly where we want it. So we are gonna take the chicken. We use our little pliers.
The tongs.
To take the toothpicks out. You squeeze it together, it should come out very easy. Of course, that one is stuck. And of course, you just throw those away. One more. Okay, then to kind of heat the chicken back up, we're gonna put it back in the sauce for literally just long enough for us to go throw those toothpicks away. There's a little bit of like chicken juice on our top that we're gonna throw away as well.
Ew.
But you're basically letting the chicken cook about 30 seconds on each side. It's just warming back up really. Okay, so we will now turn this over. The whole time the spinach has just been sitting there, it's perfectly ready. No problemos. So now we're gonna get our cutting board with our butter ready. Okay, so take our chicken out. And the last thing I'll do is I'll come back in here in a few minutes and show you just cutting it, which is really common sense, but just to show you how I slice it up. All right, so if camera lady can do one last look at, basically there's almost like, it looks like there's no liquid left. If you actually take a spoon, it actually leaves a trace. Like you can see there's a trail there. That means that you're ready to basically call it done. So what I'll do now, turn off the heat, throw in the butter, and I just stir it around for about 30 seconds until the butter melts. And then I will actually just pour this into a little bowl where I can use a spoon to put it over the chicken. So that is melting. So as we let that melt, I will cut one chicken for you. And again, this is common sense, but I use the knife to cut it and make it look pretty. So when I serve this, I try to serve it as a whole piece of chicken, just cut into little pieces. And then I'll just put the sauce right on top. And there you go. Ckn Rollitini. Yay! So this is the part where I want to show you the finished product. So there it is. And just because neither of you are home and you don't get the opportunity to hear me chew, I'm going to eat this entire thing on camera. Just kidding. Love you guys. Bye.